Lightfall is here, Guardians, and you know what that means. New toys, new adventures, new enemies, and of course, a brand new subclass to master, Strand. Now, the early thought was that Strand felt a little flat on launch, but I'm here to tell you that Strand is one of the most fun and powerful subclasses we've ever seen in Destiny 2. My name is D-Flawless, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to whip, whirl, weave, and wipe out your enemies with this incredibly powerful Hunter Strand build. I'm talking infinite woven mail protection, infinite grapples, tangles, orbs of power, and constant motion as you zip, hover, dive, and fly above your enemies while raining down volatile void destruction. In this build, you will become the Widowmaker. Let's talk about it. And hey, if you like what you see, why not go ahead and hit the like button? And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the Warlock and Titan Strand builds when they arrive. Now let's get into it. So after you complete the Lightfall campaign and unlock your Strand subclass, you'll want to spend some time on Neomuna to unlock the aspects and fragments you'll need for this build. Here's what you're going to want to choose to become the Widowmaker. First, for aspects, we have Widow Silk. This gives you an extra grenade charge, and since this build is all about grapples, an extra grapple charge. But that's not it. It makes your grapples create strand tangles at the grapple point. We also have Ensnaring Slam. This allows you to use your in-air ability to dive to the ground and suspend enemies in the drop zone. And I gotta tell you, if grapples weren't a thing, suspending enemies would probably be my favorite new ability. Let me know in the comments below the like button what your favorite Strand ability is. And now with our aspects in place, let's talk about which 4 fragments you should be going for in order to become the Widowmaker. So first we have Thread of Transmutation. This makes it so that while you have Woven Mail active, your weapon final blows will create a tangle. Since the goal of this build is to always have Woven Mail active, you'll have tangles constantly. We have Thread of Ascent, where activating your grenade ability reloads your equipped weapon and gives you a boost to airborne accuracy and handling. With this fragment, you get to unload your weapon onto an enemy, zip around to a safe position or to another group of enemies, knock them out with your grapple melee, and have your weapon loaded and ready to go for the next fight. And now, these next 2 fragments really kick this build up a notch. Next, we have Thread of Generation, where dealing damage grants grenade energy, which means, say it with me, you'll get even more grapple energy for more constant zipping action. And if you can keep the damage output going, and trust me, you will once we get to our exotics and weapons, we're talking mayhem levels of ability regeneration. There were times in testing when I would grapple, and before I could hit the ground, I would have another grapple charge ready to go in addition to the extra Widow Silk grapple. Next up, we have Thread of Warding, where picking up an Orb of Power grants Woven Mail. Now, the new mod system does feel like a bit of a nerf when compared to some of the ways we used to proc Elemental Wells, but don't worry. We'll be generating tons of Orbs of Power with our mods, weapons, and exotics. So, let's start talking about the newest Hunter exotic helmet, the Certarachne's Facade. Say that 5 times fast. It has the exotic perk Acrobat's Focus, where you gain Woven Mail when you activate your grapple, and you gain increased flinch resistance. You get that just for grappling. Now let's take this time to talk about Woven Mail. At first I was worried it would be a little lackluster, but I gotta tell you, Woven Mail feels to me just as good as well as Tenacity, with the added bonus of increased flinch resistance. I actually tested this out in the Crucible, and it's a 25% damage reduction to non-precision damage, and some are reporting seeing damage resistance in PvE as high as 60%. But whatever the numbers are, I go based on feel. And what I feel is I'm taking tons of damage from super tough enemies in every activity. And remember, with this build, you have this protection constantly, especially when you add your mods. So currently, Reaper and Dynamo are disabled at the time of making this video, which is a bummer because you can definitely slot those into this build. But even without them, we have no problem generating orbs of power. For mod, you'll want to use some type of void siphon. We have heavy-handed, which is essentially melee wellmaker, impact induction, which grants grenade energy on melee hits. You can use bomber or distribution or both. I have charged up on my build. Font of endurance for even more endurance when we're airborne. Dilation, so we have longer time with our mods. Void weapon surge for increased void damage, and innervation, so we get more grenade energy whenever we pick up an orb of power, which we'll be picking up a lot. So now we have ways to constantly generate orbs with our void and strand weapons, as well as our melee. And we're also feeding our grenade and grapple with mods like innervation and impact induction. Now let's talk about what really makes this build work so unbelievably well, and that's our exotic weapon for this build, the Manticore. Yes, with the exotic perk Soaring Flame, allows you to charge up anti-grav repulsors when you land shots on the ground, which then allows you to hover in the air and land shots to remain airborne. But you also have Swooping Talons, which boosts your damage output when you land hits while you're in the air. And on top of that, we have the Catalyst, which gives you even more damage resistance stacks as you get kills while you're airborne. The synergy in this build is unbelievable. Let's talk about the gameplay loop. You see a group of enemies, and then thwip! You swing into action with your Strand grapple and swan dive on top of them, suspending them all in midair and leaving them helpless. While you're on the ground, you take a couple down with your Manticore, charging up your anti-grav repulsor. Maybe you get a melee kill to drop an orb of power, but once you're charged up, you zip back into the air, reloading your weapon and increasing your airborne effectiveness and giving you instantly woven mail. Now, you can rain down void destruction on your enemies. But remember earlier when I mentioned volatile rounds at the beginning? That's right. With the Season of Defiance artifact mod, Volatile Flow, you get volatile rounds on your void weapons whenever you pick up an orb of power, which you'll get easily with melee or by getting void kills. So now, you hover above your enemies, shooting down while protected by woven mail. You're dishing out so much damage that Threat of Generation is working overtime and keeping your grapple energy topped off. And if you need an exit from the sky, you can zip away to a safe location or to another group of enemies, or you can even swan dive with your Ensnaring Slam, giving yourself a breather as your enemies float helplessly above you. Hunters, you gotta try this. Take to the sky and annihilate your enemies with this deadly combo of woven mail and Manticore as you zip around endlessly thanks to your perfect combo of aspects, fragments, exotics, and mods as you become the Widowmaker. But that's it for me. That's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button and go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, peace out. I love you. Bye-bye.